This is a recording for Mining Memories on Sunday the 3rd of November. My name's Robert Portman and I'm going to be interviewing Barbara Melbourne. Good morning, Barbara.
Good morning.
Right, so first and foremost, Barbara, could you tell me where and when you were born?
I was born 24th of August 1943 at Lindrick Emergency Maternity Home, which is now the Golf House.
Right, smashing.
Quite posh.
It sounds it,
yes,
yes.
yeah.
Okay, and did you grow up in the local area?
Yes, at Dinnington, yes. Dinnington,
Okay.
yes.
And which family and friends were involved in the mining industry?
I should think nearly all my uncles, apart from about two, and most of the neighbours and everybody worked at the pit. So most of my friends at school and everything, their fathers worked at pit. Yeah, not many that didn't work at pit. It was unusual to have a father who was a lorry driver or a shop worker or something. Most of them worked at the pit, yeah.
Okay. And which pit did they work at?
Some worked at Dinnington, but my father, or I should say my dad, I don't like father, my dad worked at Furbeck Langold pit. And I didn't find out till years and years after why didn't he work at Dinnington, which was on the doorstep more or less. He used to travel to Furbeck on his bike, but it was because it was in Nottinghamshire and they got more money per shift. Somebody told me that about 20 years since after he died. So he obviously went for more money at Furbeck pit,
Okay.
yeah.
Do you know why they might be receiving more money for working in Nottinghamshire?
No, I didn't. I just asked this man. I said, I never asked my dad why he worked at Furbeck and not Dinnington. And Dinnington had a boss, and Furbeck, he used to have to go on his bike most of the time, and it was uphill on the way home after having done a shift at work. I don't know, but they said I think it was because in Nottinghamshire they paid more. I don't know.
And your relatives that worked in the mining industry,
Yeah.
what different jobs and roles did they have?
I don't really. I think they all worked down the pit. And my granddad, I can't remember him going to work, but he did. He worked down the pit. So, and I found on when you're doing your family tree, they all came from Leicestershire and they were miners as well. So it goes way back. And my granddad that came from Chesterfield, my mum's side, he was a miner as well. But my uncle there, they didn't work in the pit, but most of my uncles did. I don't know what they did. I think they all worked down the pit.
Mm.
Yeah.
Did they talk much about the work they were doing in the mining industry? Did they enjoy the work or anything to do with the sort of social side of...
Well, we always used to be having, of course, don't forget this was a time before television. We didn't have a television until 1952. They always used to be... I can remember them being on about politics, not necessarily working, but they were always on about politics and working conditions and having a bit of a grumble. Is it working all right?
I'm just making
yeah, they used
sure.
to have a bit of a grumble. And can I just have this little thing? I'm not going to diversify. My dad had to finish at 60 when Furbeck Pit shut down. If it had been 59, he would have come to Kiveton Pit. Because he was 60, he had to finish. And he was upset and all this, that and other. But when he came home, of course I was married by then, my mum said he went down garden and burnt all his pit clothes, his boots, and not his coat that he used to ride biking, because it was a good old army coat somebody had given him. And he burnt them all. And my mum said to him, what have you, what you doing? He says, I don't want to see them things ever again. And my sister bought him one of those fancy brass lamps for on the hearth. He says, you can take that away, I don't want that. I don't want to look at that in my retirement. And sometimes I feel a bit choked up because I think, all them years and all that nice times we had, and he must have hated it, but there was nothing else to do. And even now it brings a lump to my throat thinking about he hated it so much, but he never said anything. Yeah, it's sad that, isn't it, really, when you think about it. Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
So he retired at 60?
Yes,
And
did,
he
yeah.
wanted to come to Kiverton
Yeah, but he
Park.
was too old, so
Yeah.
he had a good retirement then, really.
Yeah.
Because he was getting older and going on that bike to Furbeck. My mum used to say to him, going in all weathers as well, you know, when you're 65, it makes a difference. So luckily, retiring at 60, had a good retirement. He had a good few years retirement, yeah, that he could enjoy.
Yeah, quite a long period.
Yeah, and they got a bit
after
of
work.
redundancy money as well. So they went on some good holidays all the way around England, on coach holidays and things. They had a good retirement. I'm pleased about that.
Yeah, sounds
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, they did. I kept saying, go and enjoy yourself, and he did. They did. They
Smashing.
enjoyed themselves, yes.
All right, from your memory
Yes.
of having family members in the mining industry,
Yes.
can you remember what their normal working day might have been like?
Well, I can only speak for my dad because my uncle, who did come a lot, his family, he worked at Burcoats, Arworth Pit, and that was my mum's relations, but they used to come over an awful lot. They had a car. And I what was the question again? I forgot.
Sort of their normal working day.
Yeah, I don't
so-
really know. I can only
yeah.
tell you from what my dad's was.
Right, okay.
Yeah. And my granddad at Chesterfield, I can remember going and visiting him, and he used to come home from work, and they hadn't got any pit baths then. I don't know where he worked at. Oh, I forgot what they call it. Holmwood, was it? And they didn't have pit baths, and he used to come home black. It scared me stiff. Seeing this black man coming, you know.
So it was the
but my
first
dad-
thing he did when he came home to have
yeah,
a bath,
yeah.
I take it?
But I can't remember much else. But I can remember when we used to go and visit. If he was coming home from work, they didn't have pit baths like my dad did at Furbeck. They probably hadn't got round to having one. You know what I mean? Different times, sort of thing. My dad, they had baths, pit baths. He never came home dirty, but my granddad did, and it scared me stiff.
Was it seen as a bit of a positive thing having a pit bath then? It
Oh,
was like
yes.
good conditions at that site.
Yes, it was. It was very good. Yeah, because my dad used to say, I mean, all that, he said, women, he was quite a thoughtful person, because he used to say there were no good old days, especially for women, all work that they had to do. And he said that was another job that they didn't have to do when man came home from work. He used to tell me all things, and he used to sit and listen, and perhaps in these discussions that he had with my uncle, this all came out, and in myself, what could you say? Back of my mind, it sort of must have sunk in a bit.
Yeah.
They thought pit baths were a great thing to have, yeah.
Right, and your family members that worked in the mining industry,
Yeah.
were they members of one of the unions? And can you explain what the unions offered their members?
I know, I can remember my dad and my uncle, when they were younger, and unions, they weren't allowed to have a union or something, were they? And they used to have to go and pay it on the quiet, these union fees. I don't really know much about it, but that's what I can remember them saying. And can you remember when we used to have to sneak across to somewhere and pay these dues because they didn't want nobody to know they were paying into union? Would that be? I don't know. I mean, I've never really looked into it, whether that was right or not. I mean, I'm probably talking about when they were younger, in the, would it be 1930s? 1930s? But I think when they got a union, they were staunch unionists as regards, because they'd have some protection then, wouldn't they, from horrible working conditions. Because don't forget, they weren't nationalised, well, was it 1948? So, of course, my dad had a long time in pits under pit owners, or whoever they were, I don't know. And I suppose conditions weren't very good. So union was a good thing for miners. From what I can remember them saying about going to this union thing and having to sneak across to somewhere to pay it so nobody would know. It seems awful that now, doesn't it? That I suppose mine owners didn't want them to have a union.
And can you remember them talking about a difference between when they were having to sneak in their dues and union activity was prohibited, to when it was formalised and they were allowed, did they talk about a difference between the way they were able to operate, both as workers and union members?
I can't remember much about that, but I know my dad, in Dinnington there were quite a few different, there was what they call Miners' Welfare and Miners' Institute, and only time my dad ever went out for a drink was a Sunday dinner time, and he used to say, I'm going to pay my dues and demands, and I just presumed that it was these union things, and he had little cards. I can remember them little cards they had. I don't know whether that was the same sort of thing, that used to say, I'll go and pay my dues and demands. So probably if they had a miners' union club or whatever, they went there to pay the dues, wouldn't they? There'd be somebody there taking it every week or every month. I know he used to say, I'm going to pay my dues and demands, and laugh. So I thought, is it because he wants to sneak off for a pint? Because he only used to go on a Sunday. And, or not, I don't know, but probably it might have been to pay union, different things.
Well, sounds like a good arrangement.
Well, yeah, on a Sunday lunchtime, yes, for people, so it's a good excuse to go out for a pint, yeah, yeah.
Right, so we're going to move on to your memories as a community and family member.
Yeah.
When you were younger and growing up in a mining community, what did a normal day look like to you?
I suppose everything revolved around my dad, what shift he was on. You know, when you come home from school, if my dad was on nights, don't make a noise, your dad's still in bed. And then I think he used to go to work about 9 o'clock. Seems such a long time since, really, but yeah, I suppose. And of course we went to school, and if my dad was coming home at 2 o'clock and we were off school, you know, school holidays, we used to always be looking for him coming down the street and run out and meet him and things like that. Because people round about, they worked at Dinnington, so I can only remember ever seeing my dad coming home from work. Probably they came at a different time, I don't know. But sometimes when he went on the bus, he used to come walking down the street, and we used to go and meet him and, you know, have a bit of a joke sort of thing, yeah. And wash day, of course. Horror of horrors. And every Sunday night, I don't know whether Furbeck was one of these pits that was hot, what they called a hot pit, because he only wore shorts, grey shorts, and he had my mum patching them all the time. Whether that was a superstitious thing. But on a Sunday night, she would say, oh, I've got to patch your dad's shorts again. And she'd sit there at the kitchen table with these, well, they were practically dropping to bits, and she had to patch them if he'd ripped them. Because I think it was just a superstitious thing that he didn't want to have. I don't know, it's just superstitious that he had to keep the same pair of shorts for as long as he could.
Is it like sports people keeping the same
pair
of socks?
Yeah, I suppose so, yeah, keeping the same pair. I used to think, oh, golly, why can't you get some more? And and sometimes they were like stiff with age and all these, but he had to have these same old shorts. And another thing going on, not diversifying really, but you know, they had his snap, they called them sandwiches snap. He only had either dripping or jam, because he said you couldn't taste anything. And he never had it in a tin, he always had it wrapped in newspaper. And if he left it on the kitchen table, when he went out, he never turned back for it. He never came back.
So
if we could run after him, and catch him, we did. Oh, quick, your dad's forgot his snap. But if we went there and Mother said, oh, your dad's forgot his snap, he never came back for it. It was a superstitious thing, yeah. But I suppose life did revolve around my dad working, because he was the main breadwinner, you see. My mum never went out to work, only when he had accidents, and she went and did cleaning, but when he was better she packed cleaning in and, you know, stayed at home then. She just went out to get more money, because I suppose at them days there weren't any, would there be social security or something? I don't know. When my dad had accidents.
I'm not
You know,
sure.
no, I'm not really. So probably that's why she went out to work.
And his accidents happened while he was on the job.
Oh yeah,
in the
that's
pit.
the only time he was ever poorly. Yeah, he never had the flu or anything. Not from what I can remember. The only time he was poorly and off work was when he'd had an accident. He had some nasty ones as well.
And when he had an accident, did he stay at home to recuperate until he was fit enough to go to work again?
I can remember him being in Worksop Hospital and going and visiting him, but we weren't allowed in. We had to wave through the windows. Seems so quaint now, doesn't it? Yeah, we had to wave to him through a window. Yeah, and we were children, yeah.
So, we talked about when your father was at work,
Yeah.
or when he had short amounts of time when he was off work.
And meals sort of revolved around his shift work, yes. Yeah.
But when he was off work on holiday or anything like that, can you remember what you and your family did full time off on holidays?
Well, we always went to Blackpool for a week. We never went on any club trips or any, these like being about miners' welfare and that had trips, day trips. We never went on any. I don't know why. I never asked him. Probably because we got other things to do. And as I say, we always went to Blackpool. Why Blackpool? I asked him once. Why on earth did we go to Blackpool and not Scarborough or somewhere a bit more? Well, there was always something to do at Blackpool if it rained, and there was hundreds of places to go. So that was the sensible thing, I suppose, in them days, that to go to Blackpool, because and it did rain. I mean, people think it did. I can remember it raining on holiday, and there was always somewhere to go. So that's why. As I say, my relatives used to come from Burcoats over, sometimes on a Saturday night, and we all used to just sit round chatting and having cups of tea and what have you. In the summer we always used to go walking, which everybody used to go walk on Saturday night. Well, Saturday or Sunday, mostly ending up at a pub, and everybody was sat outside or under somewhere if it were raining. And then we used to catch a bus home. Anston Stones, you know Anston Stones? Yeah, Cresswell, so sort of interacting with Cresswell Cragsington. We've been in there hours and hours playing in Anston Stones. We used to love it. And that was a favourite walk. And then we went through Anston Stones, had a little play in caves and things, and then went to a pub and then caught the bus home. And everybody else did the same. All empty. I think it probably because he had fresh air, you see. I don't know, we just did. And they never went out on Saturday night. Some of my friends who live round about, their mum and dad used to go to the club on a Saturday night. And I thought that were awful. Why can't they take them a walk like we go? So, no, it was quite a family-orientated person. And as I say, relatives used to come over, or we used to go to Chesterfield on a Saturday, which we had to go on 3 buses. But that buses were reliable in those days to visit relatives over at Chesterfield, and then we used to catch a bus, 3 buses back. That used to be a nice thing. Or we used to like gardening. Because my granddad lived nearby, my granddad and grandma, and they had a big garden, so they used to share things, My dad used to go and help them do things in garden, and then he worked in his own garden as well. So.
Do you remember what his garden looked like, or any?
Oh, flowers.
Right.
He had vegetables at my granddad's, but our garden, for some reason, didn't have very deep soil, because apparently when they were building the houses, they used it where they did the concrete mixer, and every so often great big half bricks and everything had come up, so we just set flowers. But he loved being outside, and I'm laughing now, but it was just normal to me. He used to go and get a deck chair or an old chair and sit in the middle of where he'd set all these flowers, because he used to say, well, you can't see them if you don't sit on top of them, can you? And he loved roses and things and gladioli, and people wanted flowers for church. They used to come, have you got any flowers, Les, they called him. Yeah, come on, help yourself. He used to grow no end of flowers. I don't mean all nicely set out. I mean in rows, so that they'd, I don't know, we just did, and they used to like sitting in the middle of them. Because he thought, well, I suppose that, he says it, I was saying about to sit and smell the flowers. He did, you know.
I suppose if you take all that time and effort
yeah,
to make
he used to
something,
love
you
it. I think
it.
it was because he worked out pit, and it was something, an antidote to working out pit, that he loved these. It seemed like people used to have allotments and that, didn't they, and grow things and show them. I think that was like the thing that they did, to be outside, away from thinking about going down pit.
So you said you were quite family orientated.
Yes,
You really like going outdoors,
yes, and
gardening.
to family and friends. As I say, we used to go to Chesterfield on those. If we went to the auntie at Burcote, somebody had to take us because we couldn't get there, you know. And they used to come and visit us and other relatives as well. It always seemed to be weekends where always somebody coming. And Christmas, oh dear, Christmas. You know, it was lovely. Yes, a really happy family get-togethers, yes. Lovely, yeah.
And you said that people from the church would come down and
it was
give
Catholic
themselves.
church, Catholic church. My mum was a Catholic, but my father wasn't, but he never stopped us going. And my mum used to have a lot to do at Catholic church, and so if they wanted any flowers, my dad used to say they could come and take them, you know, like, so. I don't know, I suppose that was how people used to be, friendly and help one another. My mum were always baking for church. When they had anything going off, my mum were always baking scones and stuff. And my dad never said anything, never stopped her. To just normal carry on to me, I suppose. So they helped one another.
So would you say your mother being a member of the Catholic Church
yes.
and you being part of that community was quite a small part of your childhood?
Yes, it was, because there weren't a lot of people who were Catholics. Not then. And nobody around about where we lived. We were the only ones. There was a Catholic church in Dinnington, and apparently it was only small, and then they all worked to make it a bit bigger. I can just faintly remember them making it bigger. So probably it had grown then, the community, congregation, what have you. But when I was a child, not a lot of people where I lived were Catholics. Only me. You know, only my family, yeah. But my mum's side was Catholics, but my dad's side wasn't. But we all never bothered. We just got on quite well, as far as that. Well, it must have done, because I can't remember them falling out or anything. No.
So all very amicable.
Oh yes, yeah.
And how did living in a mining community affect your day-to-day life? So any differences you might, or unique aspects to your childhood, early adulthood that you have due to growing up in a mining community?
No, I don't think I've got any. It was just normal carry on, I suppose. That everybody else just had a miner. I think when somebody got hurt, the people came round and just come to see if you were all right. You know, if my dad were in hospital, people used to come, and probably my mum went over to them and when they were hurt. No, you just sort of, I suppose, when you used to see pit bus coming, it was just, I think, it's pit bus, not anything out of ordinary, like it probably would be now. Mind you, now everybody's different, they've got cars, but everybody went on a pit bus or a bike. No, I can't. And everybody sort of washed on a Monday, and you know, all were miners, because they always had the same towels. I remember them awful striped towels they had. They got them cheap from Pit, and soap. That red soap, what do they call it? Lifebuoy. But I always thought, when I get married, I'm not having any striped towels like that. And I never did. I've always got plain, because everybody's line had got all these Pit towels on, all the same. I know it's just a childish thing, but I just think, they're all so boring. Yeah.
And you say you mentioned the soap they used.
Yeah.
Oh, is it because it was really pungent?
Oh yeah, and it was like in red blocks. And of course we had plenty of coal, so we had plenty of fires, and we had a big tank cupboard, and we always kept soap in there, because if it dried out, it lasted longer. So my mum said. and we used to put soap and everything in there, but it used to smell. It was just so no. And my dad, when he used to come home from work, because he had pit baths, he always used to smell soapy. That's when, you know, I used to go and kiss him. He always smelled soapy and nice. He didn't smell sweaty or anything. He always smelled soapy and nice. Nice smell.
Clean.
Yes, clean, yeah. With this horrible red soap. Yeah. But they got it cheap, so they didn't think of buying anything else, you know. They just bought... But until I got older, and I wanted a nice scented soap, and so my mother started buying it for me, but nobody else used it. They used to use that horrible red soap, like Lifebuoy stuff, you know. Yeah.
Just out of interest, what colour were the stripy towels?
Well, they were white, but they got like brown stripes. They were like multi-striped. And I used to think, oh, why can't we have something different? But they never brought, I don't know who supplied Pit with these towels, but you could get them cheaper. I think you got towels and this soap and probably other things, but I can't remember other things. But I know when it was wash day, these towels were always on line. Or my dad used to take one for work, but they always wrapped it up. You know, when you were going on a Monday morning or Monday afternoon, whatever it was, they used to wrap the things up and tuck it under their arm, a towel. They never had a bag or anything. They used to wrap the shorts or whatever in and then wrap it in this towel. Probably, mind you, they won't do it. But, well, it wouldn't be very practical now. You'd have dark ones, wouldn't you, if somebody had got a dirty job. But then they had these towels. I was thinking, oh, how boring, everybody's got the same towels. But they were cheaper because you got them. I mean, I think my mum used to get them for aunties and that husband weren't working at Pit. They used to get them cheap for them. You know, I don't know how much, but that's one thing I can remember, like blooming towels online. And everywhere you looked, everybody got towels out, same. Yeah.
Right, okay then, Barbara. We're going to move on to significant events in the local mining community here and also in the industry.
Yeah.
So, first of all, can you remember the Cresswell Pit disaster?
What year was that? I've read about it since. In fact, was there something on that? Where did I go and they were on about it? I go to that many history things and what have you. What year was that? Oh, no, I can't remember that one, but I can't remember my parents being on about that. But sometimes, when you're young, they don't talk about it in front of you, do they? But I can remember Aberfan, when that tip came down, because I was working then. And somebody coming to work, because I worked in an office. That was another thing. My dad made me stop at school till I was 16 then, so I could learn shorthand and type and went to a technical school. Instead of getting a job, any old job, I got to have a good job. And I did. And that's why I had a job in an office. And somebody came back from lunch and said that it killed so many, and we went, no, you've got it wrong, not all that many. And then it just all kicked off at night on television and that. I can remember that was awful. Was it Lofthouse they had a nasty one? And I can remember that being on television. And you know, it's just, you think, oh dear, I hope it doesn't happen to my dad. But other than that, I can't remember them talking much. They probably did, but quietly, because they didn't want to, it was sort of like, you're only young and they didn't want you to sort of like be troubled about it. They kept things from you really, didn't they? Yeah. But I can remember Aberfan and one or two more pit accidents as well. Because when they come on now, you sort of think, ooh, makes you go cold when... Because they still have pit accidents now. And they had a nasty one at Kiveton, but how long since is that? I know it were April Fool's Day. It would be mid-80s probably, yeah. And somebody... I don't know, do you want me to talk about this or not? Because it's...
Yeah.
Well, it's
Please
just,
do, yeah.
Because my husband worked at Kiveton Pit on the pit top until he had his accident. Oh, he still worked on pit top, but he had a light job. But then he was working on something where coal came up out at pit, and he called it plant, that's it. And he worked in the plant where coal came, and coal prep plant and all this and other. And I don't know what happened, but I know it was April the 1st because somebody said they'd seen a boat going up on the coal thing. And they said, oh yeah, we know it's April the 1st, having a joke. And they said, no, and I've just seen something else going up I don't like the look of either. So pit completely stopped, and they found out this lad had fallen in something and got crushed to nothing, really. And that's why I remember it. Oh, it's awful. And my poor old mother-in-law, they had coal delivered, and they'd had some delivered that morning before they realised what had happened. And she put some on fire, and she said to me, my father-in-law, this blinking coal's spitting. She says, I don't know what they're putting in it this time, stones. And it wasn't, it was bits of bone and everything. So when they came round, they sort of sent a message, I don't know how, I can't remember. Probably somebody come, don't use any more coal. They had to come and take it back and riddle it. That's the worst. And my husband said, oh dear, that poor lad. And that's why I can remember it was April the 1st, because they thought they were joking. And he got stuck in this thing and all. Not very nice. Oh dear, it's still awful. Yeah, not very nice. So, and when my dad had pit accidents, I know he had a really bad one, and he nearly lost his arm, and he said it was a new thing then. I don't know whether it was. They took a piece out of your leg, your thigh, skin, and grafted it onto his arm, and it was like an experimental thing. And years after, he kept saying they did a damn good job on my arm. But it's just his arm went a bit funny just here. And I don't think he went back to he was a ripper, I think. I don't think he went back to that job after that. He went probably on a different sort of job. Because he'd done his arm, but he kept saying, oh, look at this, what they did. They did a good job on my arm. Took a piece out of there.
Full use of it and everything.
Oh yeah,
like
but
that.
Probably not as strong. And I know he wasn't a ripper then after that. And I've got some papers. I don't know what he did after that. But I know when the pit shut down, they still kept him on for salvage, is it? And that, yeah. So he must have sort of been quite able at 60 to just still sort of sort things out, Yeah. He had a nasty accident on his head, but I can't remember that. But he'd got a nasty scar down here. I think there were 3 of them, and they all fell on top of one another. When coal fell on them, and the top one died. My dad was badly injured, and the one at the bottom survived better. So that weren't a very nice thing. But I can't really remember that. It's only what my mum told me after. He had got a scar on his head where he had stitches, war wounds as he called them. Yeah.
So we're going to move on and talk about other sort of pivotal events in the mining industry.
Yeah.
So we're going to come to the miners' strikes. Can you remember them at all?
The one that I was in, 1984.
Yeah, primarily.
Yeah, I said the students still got me. My students still got me papers. She's at Sheffield University. Yeah, awful.
Did you have a role in that at all then?
Well, because we lived at Artill then, because I was married then. And being a little village, we didn't have a lot of trouble as such. We just had a lot of people coming through Artill to get to, would it be Derbyshire or Nottinghamshire? Back way, instead of going up motorway, because police were waiting for them. So they used to come through Artill. And sometimes we couldn't get across the road because they were just piles and piles of cars. And we had a little village shop. We've since had a precinct and that, but then we had a village shop, and they used to go in for sweets and cigarettes and stuff. And we used to go in for bread, And they used to come in and expect to be served first. And one day I went in and I thought, how the heck have you got money to come in here for cigarettes and sweets? So I were getting served. And he's saying, oh, come on, we've got to get off. I says, you can wait. I mean, I'm only 4'10". These big burly blokes up here. I said, you can wait. Oh, we're in a hurry, we've got to do it. I says, you can wait. I says, and while I'm on about it, where have you got money from for cigarettes and sweets and petrol? Oh, Union pays us. Tell your husband if he wants out to go to Union and they'll... Oh, it made me so mad. I says, well, you can still wait while I've got served. And I can remember a woman behind the counter, I mean, she's a hearty person and we've had a laugh many a time. She said, can you remember my hands were shaking like this? Because she couldn't give me change. I thought, yes, I know. It still riles me up. So I think, did they go because, did they go and do all these nasty things because they wanted to or because they were getting money for it? They said, oh, they give us new tyres, petrol. So I can't work out whether they did it because that's what they believed in or they did it for the money, what they were going to keep the car running and that. And
so
cigarettes.
They were going to picket other sites?
Pickets, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting you don't know, do you? I'm thinking everybody knows. You probably weren't born then.
I was just about,
oh,
I was
right.
born.
Yeah. And, it was such an awful thing. And at Christmas, Union said they could come down and... see, living in Harthill, as I say, we were away from Kiveton Park where they had a lot of trouble. But in Harthill, not a lot... Well, a few worked at Pit, but not a lot of them. So we never had any bother. But at Christmas, this Union said they could go down to this village hall at Kiveton and get a present. So when they went in, they had a ticket. Anyway, when my husband brought these presents home wrapped up, I said, oh, let's have a look what we've got then. So we opened this present up, and there were old jigsaws and old books. They were damp and smelled. Of course, my children said, oh, we don't want them, they smell. So my husband said, I'll show you what I'm going to do with these. Come on, we'll go and have a bonfire. So they had a bonfire out garden with these jigsaws and these smelly books. So they had a bit of entertainment, didn't they? And we found out after that the ones who had been picketing, their children had got bikes. They had the pick of the best toys. One little lad that I know, he had a bike. Because I said to him, what's this? Have you had that bike for Christmas? That's good. He says, yeah, my dad got it for going picketing. I didn't say anything to the child because he wouldn't know. But I come back, I went furious. And of course my husband were furious as well, we all got treated. And we went down for some free food once. They said, you can have a few potatoes and a bag of sugar. Well, when it come to it, we're half a bag of sugar. And this sugar bag were all dirty, as though somebody had dirty hands and wrapped it up. And I come home and I said to my mother-in-law, I don't want that. She says, well, use it in baking. Because she said, if you don't fancy putting it in your tea. I says, well, you don't know who's had their hands wrapped back. Of course, they helped us a little bit because they'd retired then. My father-in-law had retired. So they helped us a little bit, and various things like that. So we survived. And we got my son were going up to comprehensive, and we could have one item of clothing. My daughter, I can't remember what my daughter had. I think she said she had a cardigan. But I thought, well, if I get my son the most expensive item, that's, I've got the most expensive item. And we had to go to Rotherham to get it, to social place. Oh, and I felt terrible. I just felt like I were a criminal, really, like my ancestors must have felt going out parish. And this lady in there, she said, what are you getting upset for? I said, well, it's awful. She says, no, it's not. She says, you're entitled to it. Your husband's worked. She says, and you probably worked till you had your children. And she says, you see them over there? And she pointed to the corner. And this Pakistani family had come. She said, they get everything. Shoes and everything. She said, so don't you get upset. She says, promise me you won't get upset. And I said, no, I won't get upset. But I was. I choked. Yeah.
So the items that people like the lad who got the bike,
Yeah.
and the jigsaws, and the potatoes and the sugar.
Yeah.
Where were these items coming from?
People
Was it a local
donated
dispensary?
them.
Or
Yeah,
something
people
like that?
donated them. If you've got anything for miners, they took them to this village hall. So obviously they'd had a sort out, and I don't know what other people had, but I know this lad had a bike.
Was that run by the community then? Or?
Yeah, and I think, was it Union as well ran it? Yeah. And we once went down for something. I think we had to have these papers signed. Because, of course, we hadn't got any money. So, luckily, we were in a council house then. We hadn't bought our house at this time. And we're in council. And the rent were only something like £1. But we had to get a thing to sign it. So we went down to this Kiveton club. And they were all drinking beer. And I'm saying to my husband, where have they got money from for beer? We can't afford beer. Or cigarettes or anything. Well, we didn't smoke, but we can't. So I kept thinking there's two sides to this. That they were in there drinking, and women were as well. I know women, I didn't have anything to do with it. The women did set up something at Kiveton. But because I lived at Artill, we were a different thing altogether. We didn't sort of go to Kiveton very much, you know.
Right, so it's a different community or different
Yes, a different
organisation?
community, yeah. Out of a little village, it still is a little village community. And everybody sort of kept saying, oh, you know, don't worry, now I hear. And nobody ever said anything awful. No, nobody ever said. We never had no trouble at all. No. But they did at Kiveton, but we didn't at Artill, which is only a mile away. But because it was a little village, you see.
So we're going to talk about the aftermath of the sort of mine closures and things like that.
Yeah.
How do you feel when the mining industry effectively ended?
I felt awful, really. Although I was glad people hadn't got to go down pit like my dad did. But at least, I know it sounds awful, but people had a job. And they could have good jobs. I mean, my husband, before he had his accident, he was going to be this plant, what do they call it? Sort of like working his way up and taking exams. He went to college at Doncaster. And things like that, they could make something of themselves. Not necessarily down pit, but on pit top they could get good jobs and work their way up for different things. And then it just finished. And it didn't just finish the pit, did it? It was all the other things, the overalls that they had, and people who had things, who supplied mines, and I thought it were awful, really. I'm glad my dad wasn't alive, really. Although he hated it, he probably would have been upset that after all these years, hundreds of years of work at mines, that it's gone. But same as my husband said, are they going to want it in future? This coal, you know, there must be still tons and tons underground. I mean, they had pit at Cresswell, Whitwell, all the way around here, Worksop. So, all them people that worked there, it were awful, a disaster, really. You know, I don't know, I mean, now there's just bits of jobs, isn't there? You know, not, I don't know, I don't really know what to say, but it was not very, because I'm sure shops and everything's suffered at the time. Probably recovered now, but in the 90s and early 2000 it would be awful. Yeah.
And people you knew that worked in the mining industry towards the end of it,
Yeah.
what did they go on to do?
Well, my brother-in-law, he worked in mining industry, and when they finished at Kiveton, he was transferred to Maltby because he'd still got. But it wasn't the NCB. It was. Oh, what did they call Budge? Is it somebody? Or British? No, I forgot what it was. But he said it wasn't same working for NCB because they weren't as caring. I don't know what they call it now. Of course, he's finished now as well. But and because my husband had ill health, he had to finish. But the old NCB found him a job in pit baths because he couldn't do a strenuous job like he was doing in plant. So they still found him a job. Now I think they would say, "Oh, sorry, you'll have to go." You know. So I mean, I don't know what people did. I think they like went working away. I know my husband's cousin, he had to go and work in Scotland Monday to Friday to get a job and things like that, which upset all the family life. Whereas before, when your dad worked at Pitt, that was it. It just, not a very nice job, but you had more like a stable future, didn't you?
Do you feel that disrupted the community feel to things? Because I know you talked about your family when you were growing up being very family orientated.
Yeah.
And did you feel that a community that's very family orientated?
I think when they worked at Pitt, everybody was more together. Whereas because everybody worked at Pitt, so everybody knew everybody's troubles and what have you, and then they went to this club for a drink and met one another and were very close-knit. Now, if you're working at Rotherham or someone's working at Sheffield doing different jobs, they don't come together the same, do they? They don't have the social... I know they probably meet up in a pub, but it's not the same as talking like my dad and my uncles used to talk about Pitt and unions and things. It's not the same now. I don't think it is anyway, because they haven't got that same interest. That's the word, isn't it? No, and they're not got the same interest together. No.
Right. Well, thanks for your responses to these questions, Barbara. Just while we're still recording, is there anything else you wanted to talk about today from your own personal memories of growing up in a mining community, childhood memories at all?
I could tell you about wash day. Not actually wash day, but when my dad had this nasty accident with his arm, years and donkey's years after, when I was sorting papers out, I found this, and he got £59. Don't forget, in 50s that were a lot of money. £59 something. Paper with it on. And of course, he used to think women had horrible. He said it were a horrible life for women. They were all working all the time. And he said, anyway, one day I must have been off school and not come at back door. And this was in early 50s. And this man had got a washing machine there. And he said, everybody, as I said, down Dunnington Street, they only had one electrical shop. And there was just one model of, not like these now, one model of a television or a washing machine or a cooker. And he brought this washer. And my mum said, oh no, that's not mine. He says, it is. He says, your Les, that's my dad. He's bought it you. Well, my mother, she sat on the settee crying. Anyway, she says, he never. Anyway, they brought it in. And it was one of them with thing in middle, but it had electric mangle on it. Now, before they'd had these things with the twister thing in middle, but they'd had to use manual mangle. Well, this had got an electric mangle. So, come next wash day, everybody's coming round to look at this electric mangle that my mum had on her wash. And all these old ladies all kept coming at me, have a look at that. Wow, isn't that great, this electric mangle? And I wonder many a time if my dad had bought it with some of this money, what he must have had from this accident. Because other than that, we wouldn't have been able to afford a washer. And I can remember my mum sitting on the settee and crying, oh, the daft thing, fancy buying me that, but that were kind. But I think she was so overwhelmed. I can't remember what she said to him when he come home from work about this washer, but I can remember these ladies coming round to have a look at it working. Yeah. So as I say, when I found this, I thought, that's where he'd get money from. Because he didn't gamble or anything like that. I didn't believe in gambling. No, he was a bit funny about things like that. Yeah, very. Because when he retired at 60, he was still quite fit. And a relative of a relative had got what did they use? Betting hut at Worksop. But they used to have what they call bookies runner. They used to take bets and then take them to Worksop on quiet, so before it all got legal. And he asked my dad, because he was a relative of a relative, would my dad take bets in Dinnington for him? And my dad said no. Why? Because he says, I'll be saying to him, don't be putting that money on horse, take it home for your family and they'll need it. He hated anything like that. So he never... So that were a bit of a joke in family. My dad, no, he didn't like money, wasting money. No, take it home to your family. He said I'd be saying to him I wouldn't take any bets. So they were all laughing, but that was my dad. He didn't like any waste at all, you know. Yeah, anything else? I've just wrote a few things. He quite, as I say, he made me stop on at school. Or he said I could stay on if I passed. You had to pass a little exam at 13. So they had to keep me at school for another 12 months instead of going out working in a shop or something. And as I say, I had a nice job in offices and things. We never went to. We went to Court for shopping and stuff, but we never had furniture from Co-op. We always went to Ayres at Worksop or Chesterfield. Why, I don't know. I've often thought, why did they go to Ayres and not Co-op and get divvy on it? Because most other things got divvy on it that we bought, but not furniture, not carpets. So whether, of course, my mum had been brought up in Chesterfield, and that was where she was used to going, I don't know. But we always had nice things. We never, I can't remember my childhood when we didn't have nice clothes and nice shoes and a nice happy family altogether, really. Yeah, different thing. My dad learnt me to read. Well, he was helping me to read, and he said, "'Cause if you can read, you can do anything." That probably comes from when they were younger and bred in them that you've got to have a good education. So he made sure that we learnt to read, which is true, really. Isn't it? If you can't read, you're stumped. Yeah, and I can remember at school when you used to have to read out as it went out class in these books. I used to think, I'm not bothered, I can read. You know, it never bothered me that. Other things did, maths and things, but reading never bothered me. Because they always used to, the expression was, "Where's your dad?" "Oh, he's in library. He's gone to the library at Denington Street." If you didn't know where he was, he'd gone to the library. Because I think that's where they were brought up to be. Educate themselves. And another thing he hated, when he was about 10, they went from Chesterfield to Denington. That's how they came to Denington, because my dad must have started work at Denington Pit. And he said you could only go to Woodhouse Grammar. But if your mother and dad hadn't got a shop or hadn't got any money, you couldn't even sit exam, because they didn't have the money to send you. So it was like, even if you were poor, too bad. If you were poor and got brains, too bad, because you couldn't go. And it's not right, that is it? But that's why they were so labour orientated, because they were kept down. Yeah, and he was saying, "Well," I said, "I never went to Woodhouse, whether I got a chance or not. Never even sat exam, because my mum and dad were only minors." Yeah, so that were a thing. I think that's why sometimes I'm very, not bolshy, but I hate injustice of any kind, you know. And I made sure my kids have grown up. Yes, my favourite expression is, "Don't wait for the wind, seize the oars." Of course they laugh, and I've got it up on the fridge. But I mean, I've got a grandson now, and I keep, "Yes, Grandma, I know. Don't wait for the wind, seize the oars. I'm doing it." You know, seize the day kind of thing. And I think it probably comes from him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, well, we'll finish there then,
Right,
Barbara.
then, okay then. Sorry to have took your time up.
No, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming in.
Yeah, okay.
So I'll stop recording here.
Okay.